the name, which is namecontroller.text, email, which is emailcontroller.text, and password, which is passwordcontroller.text. Now, this is of the type future void. So yeah, we can do async and await, but I don't think that would be much of a difference. And there's another thing we need to do. You remember the form that we created up here, the form key and the form? We can make use of that to ensure that no one is passing in empty data. So I'll pass here if form key dot current state dot validate. So it's going to return true or false depending on whether the fields are empty or not, because in our custom field, if you remember, we have added the validator function. And if the validate is true, then I want to run all of this code. Otherwise, I'll just tell them that, hey, there's an error over here. So if I restart the entire thing, go to sign up, and we are going to create our another user, 123@gmail.com. Oh, that is going to be the email. And the password is test123. Click on sign up. Then we open up our terminal, debug console, and it says 123@gmail.com. And that's because in the auth view model, when doing the pattern matching, if it's a success, we are returning r.name. So it's returning the name. So that means the user was created. And if I sign up again, it says app failure. So everything seems to be working fine now. The next thing I want to do is add the states over here. So the reason I used async value is to toggle between various states, loading, error, and data. So first of all, if the user clicks on the sign up user function, the first thing they should see is the loading indicator. So I'm going to set state, which is a variable provided by notifier to us, which will allow me to change the state of this auth view model. And I believe we could do that with state notifier as well. And this state is going to equal async value dot loading. This states that the auth view model is now in loading state. Alternatively, you could also use async loading like this, and that should be fine as well. So I'm just going to put a const over here. So after the loading indicator is set up, we want the sign up functionality to take place. And after that, it's either error or data. So if it's error, what I want to do is instead of returning L over here, I'm going to do state is equal to async error, or I can do async value dot error. Then I can pass in the error message, which is L dot message, and then the stack trace. So the stack trace can be stack trace dot current. So it passes a representation of the current stack trace. Awesome. Now, if there's an error, what I want to do is the same thing. State is equal to async value dot data, or you can just do async data. I'm going to use async value dot data just to maintain consistency with everything. And then it requires me to pass in the user model, because here I said my async value is of the type of user model. And my async value dot data is going to be R, what I have over here. Then I'm going to save it. Now, if you see, val is of the type of async value user model. So it knows in either case, we are returning async value. And that's all we need to do to toggle between different states using notifier. So we can go to the sign up page and see the different states. So to see the different states, what I can do is final, let's say val is equal to ref.watch. Earlier, we did ref.read, and that's because we were calling the provider to access a function present inside of it. We weren't actually watching the provider to see what data changes were taking place or what state changes were taking place. But now we want to watch the provider for any state change. So I'm going to pass in auth view model provider. And now if I hover over this, this is of the type async value user model, which can be null. Initially, it is going to be null, but as we progress, it is going to change. So let me print val over here. Then I'm going to open my terminal again, restart the entire thing. Initially, it is null. That's good. Then let me create another user, 1234@gmail.com. Let me paste that as an email as well. Test123 is the password. Click on sign up, and it says async loading. So the loading took place. And instantly we got async data user model with the value of user model present over here. Now, if I again click on sign up, it gives us async error with the error message as user with the same email already exists and the stack trace giving us the entire proper stack trace of where the error occurred. And if you're wondering why is it printing the same thing 2 times, that's because over here we have print val and over here we have printed a similar thing. Val and over here we have printed a similar thing. So that's why, and over that's because over here we have print val and over here we have printed a similar thing. So that's why in many instances you're seeing the same two things. But anyways, this means that the auth view model, the bridge between view and the model, is done correctly. The point of auth view model is just this. It will determine what state is going to be displayed in the UI, and it is going to communicate with the repository so that UI and repository don't communicate directly.
Server. Fuck, go to hell, 究竟剧情嘛就拜拜拜。 Ah, shit. Mr. Chu, 입술 위에 chu, every day with you. Okay, ignore file is a configuration file used by Git to specify which files or directories should be ignored. Tells Git to include these files when committing changes. These files are typically system-generated environment-specific or unnecessary for sharing with collaborators. 뭐였지요? Louis 왔대요. Louis, so server is the root folder for your backend server application. Okay? And contains subfolders and files organized by functionality. For example, like middleware, models, schemas, and routes. Okay? 이해했으면 고개 끄덕. 표정이 왜 그러냐? 공부하기 싫어? 하다 보면 다 괜찮아져. The subfolders and files. Like middleware 하나 있고, middleware 있고, models 있고, pydantic schemas 있고, routes 있고, other files 있어. Other files 해볼까? So other files get ignored, and database.py, main.py, .ds store a macOS generated file used to store folder metadata, safe to ignore or delete. main.py, the entry pane of your application. 안 들어? 루이야? 안 들 거야? Likely starts a server, register routes, and initializes middleware, handles database.py, handles database connection and setup. initialize an ORM like SQL Alchemy. 씨발 ORM 뭐였지? 존나 기본적인 걸. ORM OIRM 말고 ORM. Object Relational Mapping, which is a programming technique that connects database between a relational database, object-oriented programming language, virtual database that can be used within. Okay. 그것만이 내 세상. Initialize an ORM like SQL Alchemy or connecting to the database like Postgres or MongoDB. Okay. Route's purpose contains route definitions, API endpoints for handling HTTP requests. Files, auth.py, song.py. Auth.py handles authentication related routes, login, register, logout. Song.py handles routes related to songs like fetching, updating, deleting songs, stores bytecode for the files in this folder. Purpose defines data validation and serialization schemas using Pydantic. Pydantic is a Python library. Serialization이 뭐야, 씨. 찾아볼까? Serialization, lookup serialization. 진짜 세상 편해졌네, 씨발. 이 정도면 공부할 만하지. Publish or broadcast in. 아니, 공부 진짜 도와주는 거 많으니까 열심히 해야지. 하면 안 되잖아. Or broadcast in regular installments. Arrange in a series. Compose. Pydantic is a Python library that ensures input-output data is validated and follows a specific structure. Files likely represent different schemas. Favorite song.py schema for validating or serializing favorite song data. User create.py. User create.py. Schema for validating user registration data. User login.py. Schema for validating login requests. Okay. It best to define the structure of requests and responses. Example, what data is required when a user signs up to ensure incoming data is correct before saving in a database. Okay, that makes sense. So format data when sending it out. Oh, okay. To define the structure of requests and responses. How does it work? Serialization is like packing up your stuff into a box to send it somewhere. Imagine you have a toy that you want to send to a friend. Okay. Converts your toy into a format, like in this case, like a box in this case, like JSON, or a string that your friend can understand or use. And in the context of Pydantic, in your project, Pydantic is used to validate data. Check if your toy is the right shape and follow the rules. Convert the Python objects, serialize data into formats like JSON. Okay. 거친 생각과 불안한 눈빛과 그걸 지켜보는 너 그건 아마도 전쟁 같은 사랑 나 위험하니까 사랑하니까 너에게서 떠나줄 거야. 우리가 너는 어떻게 아직도 여기 있냐? 안 시끄럽게 이렇게 시끄러운데, 어? 이렇게 소리가 큰데. 해보자고 말이야. For user, okay. June at example.com. If you want to send this user data to a front end or save it JSON format, you serialize it. Oh, okay. Oh, 정말. Okay. If you want to send this user data to a front end or save it in JSON format, you serialize it. Pydantic handles both. Why serialize? Because my communication storage. API request. It doesn't send structured data and APIs when communicating between different systems. Save data in a database or file in a format that's easy to read later. Send structured data and APIs when communicating with different systems. Your backend and frontend can easily exchange data in a common format like JSON. Schemas are blueprints or templates for your data. A form to fill it out. Okay. What format? Collect email. Schema does exactly this for your data in your app. Defines what data looks like. The structure validates what the data is correct. Code example. 그가 말이는 세상 여기 만졌죠? 만졌죠? 아빠 거기 만져줄게. 아이고 줄게 무슨 아이고 줄게. Here's an example. Schema is pedantic. Okay. Base model. Username must be a string. That's pedantic. 그냥 씨발 똑같은 거 아이가. 그냥. Okay, validate data and ensure it matches the blueprint example of validation. Oh, nice. Validation to ensure incoming data is correct before saving it in a database. Serialization to format data when you sending it out. It's very good. Contains middleware functions which are reusable components. For handling user authentication. Purpose represents the data structure or database schema of your app. Represents the data. How's the data structure or database schema of your app? Data structure or database schema of your app. Files here correspond to different entities in your database. Likely contains a base model that other models inherit from. Commonly with ORMs, okay.